Detroit Den 313. We are back, Steve and Will. You know what we're doing. We're talking that Detroit Lions football. But before we get started, please hit that subscribe button. Do not forget that bell icon so you don't miss any of our new content. Steve, tell the people what we're talking today.
Today, later today, in just a few hours, is one of the biggest days for the Detroit Lions this coming season. I think if I had to rank them, it's probably the third biggest day of the offseason: the combine, free agency, the draft.
Okay.
Today is the NFL combine. Today specifically is defensive linemen at around 3 p.m. But we're going to talk about everyone. We're just going to give you guys a little preview of what to expect in this combine, some players to look out for if you haven't been keeping tabs on our show. If there's some names we mention that we haven't talked about, we're going to get into it. So, well, who's a couple guys you're looking for in this combine?
Are we talking a certain lane or just in general?
Just in general.
Generally, the biggest thing that sticks out, the first thing that I want to talk about is Nate Wiggins. Nate has been a guy that I like. I shouldn't even say I like. I love his film. I absolutely positively love his film. I love his instincts. I love the way that he jumps routes. I love the way that he plays aggressive. I love the way that he plays man to man. I love the way that he eats cereal. But but I did after we did some digging into him, they said he could run anywhere from a 4.4 to a 4.5. I think if he runs a 4.5, that's going to change some things. There was a guy who Detroit drafted that rhymes with Smaber.
Tease Tabor ran like a 5.7 flat.
And yeah, man. They talked about how he was just a good football player at the time, different regime. So, but that worries me. If he runs a 4.5, man, I will be a little bit worried, and I think that we might see his draft stock slide a little bit. What do you think if he runs a 4.5? Are you still going to be interested in him, or has that changed things for you?
I'm still interested. I think 4.5 you can at least play ball in the NFL. Tease Tabor went out there and ran like a parked truck. All right. Let's just be honest. I'm not concerned about 4.5. If we're talking like a 4.7, high 4.6, my ears might perk up and my radar might go off a little bit for a little concern. But a 4.5, no. I think you can make up for a 4.5 speed. Here's the thing. I hate the combine. I really really hate the combine. I'm excited for the combine because it's football. That's the only thing that excites me. But when I think of the combine, like these guys we'll call them professional athletes. These guys are all going to be drafted more than likely. I think there's like 300 kids going, 260. Some of them will be drafted or something like that. But these are professional athletes. You're supposed to go out and perform at a high level and during a workout. You've been doing it for at least 3 years. Just in college and high school, you're probably starting to do some pretty intense workouts too. If you've got a scholarship, you're amping it up. But these are professional athletes. I expect you to go out there and look good. I expect you to go out there and do well in drills that you've been training for, especially the last 5 months when you haven't been playing football. What I like to see and what I really wish, and I don't know if this is 5, 10, 15 years down the road, is a little bit more access to what goes on in those interview rooms. That is what interests me way more. The questions that Brad Holmes, Dan Campbell, Aaron Glenn, Ben Johnson, position coaches, whoever's there, whatever questions they have for these kids interests me way more than what a kid's going to go out and do tackling a tackling dummy.
I'll be honest, man. I don't think that they're ever going to allow us to get that inside information until after the drafts. We'll get a little bit of insight after the drafts always, but it's just too good. That's just too juicy. That's too behind the scenes. If other teams aren't asking those proper questions to find out the information that we're finding out, they're not going to want to share that stuff, especially a team like the Detroit Lions, who, again, we have all of these catchphrases that roll up the guys that we're looking for. One that pops in my head right now that Brad was talking about the other day was salty. We're a group of gritty, salty guys. You know what I mean?
Salt.
Yeah. So I just think that while I love when they do the roll up afterwards, man, and inside the den, and they tell us, hey, you see guys like Sam Laporta talking about, I want to go out there and physically dominate people. I enjoy that. When you start to see those type of things, you go, man, okay. I see what they saw. I see what they saw. You know what I mean? So I love an inside the den, man, when we get to, an inside look and a little bit of what goes on.
Yeah, you get like
there.
a 10-second clip.
Yeah. So yeah, it is nice, man. But right back at you, man. Toss somebody out there that you're looking forward to see.
just for the cornerback, we'll just stick with the cornerbacks for now, and they don't go until Friday. So Thursday and Friday, I feel like is a big day for the Detroit Lions because Thursday is defensive line / linebackers, and Friday is defensive back / tight ends. Now we're not really in the huge market for tight ends, but we could be drafting. Obviously, we're probably more likely to be drafting a defensive lineman. We might be in the market for a linebacker. We've talked about some guys. The defensive backs absolutely need. Tight ends, not really. So these next 2 days are big. So let's just stick with defensive backs on Friday. You said Nate Wiggins. You've actually kind of turned me on a little bit to Kenyon Mitchell. He's probably my number one. I did an episode the other day where I was a little, I've done a little homework. Stevie P's been off from surgery, so he's had some time to do a little homework. And
Welcome to the game, kid.
I'm throwing out the Toledo. I don't care. I don't care who he's gone up against. I see some crazy athleticism. I don't know if he's running a 4.3 like you said, but I'll grade if he does. But if he runs a low 4.4, I'm all in. If you really think he's going to run a 4.3, I hope you're right. But I want Brad Holmes. Well, I won't say what I want because I said it in the episode. I'll tag that at the end of this video. My draft, what I want. I know we have to move up to get Kenyon Mitchell, but I think if we have a good free agency and we're just missing a cornerback, I got to get one of those two, either Mitchell or Wiggins.
He was going to be the other guy that I was going to talk about as somebody that I'm really, really excited to watch. But I think it's there's going to be a lot that's going to be riding on his 40. You guys, if you watch some of the other episodes, you guys know that I kind of have a little bit of inside information on him, just because of the coach from River Rouge and having a little connection to that situation. And he said that he's ran 4.3, before. So, but we all know when you get under the lights, it's the biggest day of his life. It completely can change his life. Am I going to make a absolute bag out of the gate and get, be a lottery pick, or am I just going to be a pick that's, at the end of the first round, maybe early second round? That could all be decided, at that 40-yard dash. It really can, because I think if he runs that 4.3, he might be the first cornerback selected if he runs a 4.3, especially if you see guys like I heard McKinstry, he might run high 4.4. Terrion Arnold, same thing, 4.4. So if he runs that 4.3 combined with what he did at the Senior Bowl, man, I think he could definitely be the first cornerback drafted. So
Top 10?
Definitely a top 10 pick. First cornerback drafted, definitely top 10 pick. If you run that 4.3, man, especially if it's a lower 4.3 and not inching towards the 4.4. So I don't particularly like it either, but honestly, even with that being said, and even with him being somebody that I really am interested in, and I really like his game, I don't know that it would be the right move for us to draft one of these cornerbacks at 29, because after I've really watched all of the cornerbacks, I don't know that any of these cornerbacks are true difference makers for a team. I think they can be solid, professional, just go out and get the job done. But I don't know if they're going to be, if there's anybody in this draft that is truly going to be a franchise lockdown difference maker at the cornerback position. And ultimately, even if it's at 29, and especially if I'm trading up, though, that's what we're looking for. We're looking for a number one corner. And I don't know if that's what we're going to get out of this draft. Yet to be seen, I guess.
This is a big draft. I'll tell you right now, my mind kind of changed today where I'm locked in, and I'm going to ask you a question. April 25th draft. Do you think the Detroit Lions are making a pick at pick 29?
So I don't want to get too much into what my mock draft is going to look like. Obviously it could change, but where my
not a mock draft, just
I know,
is Brad making a pick at 29?
Well, it kind of rolls into my mock draft. That's what I was going to say. So, but I don't, man. Like when I look at this draft and as I've been evaluating players, I just feel like there's a lot of value in the end of the first round all the way through the middle of the second round. There's a lot of, and even going into the third round, really. But there's a lot of picks, even guys that we've talked about, and some guys that we haven't even got to get to yet. Like I got an absolute beast, and I don't know if I'm going to mention them or not on this episode. I probably will, but because I want to mention him before he does his combine stuff. But there's some guys that we haven't even hit on that are dogs that are going to be second rounders, early third rounders. So the idea of Brad going to get maybe another pick or an extra couple of picks in the second and third round, we got our guy Fisk out there. Like, we got Malachi that I did the episode on the other day. Like, there's some guys. Javon Baker is another receiver that's out there that from Central Florida that we haven't talked about. But there's guys that are going to be in the second and third round that are dogs. And if we can get an extra dog on our team, I think that's what Brad's about.
You're going to build a pound with all these dogs?
100%, man.
I don't think Brad's picking at 29. We don't know his mentality. Is he going to be laser focused on one or two guys and he's going to have to move up to get them? Is it one of the guys, Nate Wiggins, or is it Kenyon Mitchell that he's just laser focused on and says that guy is a difference maker on my team? That's what I got to move up and get him. I don't know. He could move back and acquire more picks. I don't know that either. But when I look at pick 29, I just have a gut feeling it just ain't going to happen. We're not going to be picking at 29. But I don't know. I think there's a lot of value as well. And where the Detroit Lions are, what do we really need? We need just pieces. We need a bunch of pieces, just little pieces. And we don't need that. We don't have any glaring needs. We just need 3 or 4 things.
Man, and I don't want to spin off of draft talk, but I went back and I watched the Seattle Seahawks game and I watched the Baltimore Ravens game, because to me, those are very important games because of the quarterback play in those games and some of the things that we struggled with. And I took screenshots of those games, certain plays, certain formations, when we went odd front, when we were in our normal base, when we were in that 4-2-5, and we had lots of situations where we had Jack Campbell, Derek Barnes, Alex Anzalone on the field. A guy that you guys know that I've been high on is Edrin Cooper. But even when I started thinking about, we have Lamar Jackson out there running around with Benito Jones on the field. You know what I'm saying? Like,
hey, you don't think Benito can hawk him down once or twice?
Isaiah Buggs was on the field at times. You know what I mean? And I'm watching Lamar Jackson run around like crazy. I think we need that to be a Rook Roa. Not, it doesn't have to be him, but or a Brendan Fisk, or we need some guys when these quarterbacks start running around that can be more of a threat. Because when Lamar took off, these guys were complete non-factors. Like, Benito Jones was just anchored into the ground and just threw an arm out and said, "Oh, well, Lamar's gone by."
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Multiple times when he took off. We need athletic guys that because even the Brock Purdy's of the world, man, they can get away from Benito Jones. Guys like Rook, guys like Fisk, those guys are going to be problems even when quarterbacks like Brock Purdy break the pocket, even when quarterbacks like Lamar break the pocket. So I just think that we need more guys. Another guy that we the chef, got, and a few guys have been talking about the James Houstons of the world, right?
The chef, I don't know that name, never heard of
Yeah,
it before.
but James Houston, and this is no shade towards James Houston, but this is just actually watching the film of James Houston being out there. He was an absolute liability. He got destroyed in the pass game. He had, I think, a pass interference call or a defensive holding call. He had running backs running by him, and he was getting physically dominated trying to pass rush. And I'm not here to say that he can't offer a pass rush at certain times in certain situations. But when these offensive linemen see him out there, they've watched the film on his little skip to my Lou move that he does, and it's no longer a shock to the league. They're prepared for it, and rightfully so. So we need guys that are really skilled at those edge rush positions, guys that can be athletic and run down these mobile quarterbacks. The NFL isn't reverting back to quarterbacks that are going to stand in the pocket. Those guys are few and far between now. We got one of the last few in Jared Goff, a guy that's not going to be too mobile at all. Most of these quarterbacks can at least go run you a 10, 15-yard first down when they need to. And we got to be able to run
or
those
at
guys
least
down.
boot out of a pocket and extend a play for 3 or 4 seconds. But yeah, I remember, I think I talked about this before, watching that Seattle game. We just got killed on play action boot passes where Geno Smith would open up to his left, do a hard fake to the running back, boot it out to his right. Nothing but daylight in front of him. He could run for 15 yards, sit there, wait for a play to develop, wait for a receiver to come open. We're not getting pressure on him. Same thing I remember with Jalen Hurts last year. These play action boots, I don't know if it's a scheme thing or what, but in mobile quarterbacks on top of that just absolutely shred us. We play with Justin Fields in our conference or our division.
Mm-hmm.
We play with Jordan Love, who's a little bit mobile. We don't know what's going to happen with Kirk Cousins, if he's going to be a Viking, but they're looking to move on. Possibly we might be having a JJ McCarthy, who's a little bit mobile in our division.
Or
Our defense
Penix.
our defense has to get faster.
Yeah, because imagine if we got Fields, Love, Penix, like in our division, man. And we have to be able to stop mobile quarterbacks.
Penix don't scare me. I'll just go out and draft all Michigan Wolverines defense and shut him down. You know what I'm saying? Come on, babe. Come on now.
Any mobile quarterback in this draft, man, scares me because the Detroit Lions have a whole lot of trouble with it, man. And it's our kryptonite. And I'm really worried about it. And I'm hoping that we address it in this draft this year because we have to be able to stop these mobile quarterbacks. These guys, they can't get it wrong. That's another thing. When you talk about that play action pass and that RPO, a lot of times we play aggressive, man. So our Pascals and our John Kaminsky's, they bite down hard. Even Jack Campbell, especially earlier in the season when he was still trying to he's just an excited young puppy running around trying to play football. He bit on some things that he probably wouldn't bite on now. But when he bit, he didn't have the speed to get back and make a play. You know what I mean? Once the plays got by him, we don't have guys with elite speed. We got 4.6s running around out there. Anzalone, he's a 4.6 guy. Jack Campbell, he's a 4.6 guy. And guys, he's probably a 4.7 guy because he ran the 4.6 when he was preparing for the combine. He was the lightest he's ever been.
He's been in the league for a while too. So if you're talking about Anzalone.
Yeah, well, I was talking about Jack Campbell because when Jack Campbell ran that fast time, he was 10 pounds lighter than his actual playing weight, guys. So now that he's put that weight back on, he's not running
plus pads.
So he's probably running at a 4.7 now. He's probably more of a 4.7 guy or a higher 4.6 guy. So we got a lot of guys that just aren't that fast. I think Derek Barnes is our fastest linebacker. He ran a high 4.5. So these other teams, man, they got linebackers that are running 4.4s, man. Like we have to be able to run down these quarterbacks or we're going to struggle. There's no answers. You can't have Benito Jones, a bunch of 4.6 and 4.7 linebackers out there. Aiden Hutchinson, who I love to death, but he rushed past the quarterback, which is an absolute no-no a whole lot of times.
Over pursues a lot.
He over pursues, and then he hasn't perfected his spin move to spin back after he over pursues and when the quarterback steps up, he's right there. Not saying no shade at Aiden. He plays hard and he's going to figure it out. He's dedicated to his craft. He's going to figure it out. But in the meantime, we have to have the guys around him that can help him out and help him be successful. We don't have the answers up front. And that's why I cut Aaron Glenn so much slack. Do you expect Benito Jones to run down any quarterback in this league?
Benito Jones could not run down me, if I'm being honest.
And you're 100% right. And you know I'm not giving you anything extra. You know what I'm saying? So
just thinking about the quarterbacks we play, like I've already mentioned the ones in our division, and I'm just thinking off the top of my head, like what our schedule is next year. We might not know when we play them, but we know who we play. We got to play the AFC South. What do they got? Will Levis, mobile. Trevor Lawrence, a little bit mobile. Anthony Richardson, mobile. CJ Stroud, not so much. NFC West, what do we got to do? Geno Smith again. Brock Purdy already shredded us. Kyler Murray, Matthew Stafford, not so much. So we got a lot of mobile quarterbacks on our schedule this coming season. So if you want to get back to the NFC Championship, we're going to have to figure out how to contain. We're going to have to figure out how to get a little faster. Let's talk about Edgerrin Cooper, your guy you're really high on.
Yep.
We've done a full episode. I think we've mentioned him in our mock drafts and a lot of other prospects. I'm really high on him. Not sure he's my pick at 29, assuming that's where we pick, but I've seen a lot of mock drafts that have him in that 24 to 32 range, which is right where the Detroit Lions are. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how excited would you be to land an Edgerrin Cooper?
Steve, let me tell you something, man, and it's going to be contrary to a lot of the people's beliefs. I'm not an idiot. So like I know a lot.
Jury's still out.
I know a lot of you guys aren't too sure about it, but now, do I absolutely love Edgerrin Cooper? I think he's going to be an absolute monster in this NFL. Do I think it's the best move to make at 29? I don't. But I want him really bad. I do. I want him really bad. But in the understanding of that, that's why I started talking about Junior Colson. But I'm an outside the box kind of guy. So then I just started doing some more digging. And this is the guy that I've been sitting on. I planned on doing an episode about him, but we haven't got around to doing it prior to the Pajama Olympics. So I'm going to talk about him now. And I'm not sure if you're up on him, but his name is James Williams, and he is the safety, right, from the Miami Hurricanes. Right. This kid is 6'5", and he played at 215 pounds. He hits like a semi truck, right? And he went to the Senior Bowl, and they actually seen the same things that I saw, and they let him play a little bit of linebacker at the Senior Bowl. The young man showed up to the Senior Bowl 230 pounds. He's predicted to run a 4.4. He's a guy that is a little bit raw. He's a guy that's definitely probably going to be a day two guy. And when I think about the Detroit Lions, if the Detroit Lions went and got a guy, I don't know who this guy is. So whether it's a cornerback that's going to make an impact, whether it's one of these edge rushers, or just a solid defensive end like a Darius Robinson, who I'm the jury's out for me on whether or not I think that that's a good pick yet, or defensive tackle Byron Murphy, Johnny Newton, any of these guys, right? I think that piece plus a 6'5", a guy that was athletic enough to play safety at Miami, right? 230 pounds running a 4.4 next to Jack Campbell is a game changer. It's an absolute game changer. So for me, in lieu of a Edrin Cooper, right? In lieu of a Edrin Cooper, I think we can go out and grab a defensive piece right there at 29. Still come back and maybe have a James Williams there at 61, or he might even be there
third round.
In the third round. But he is a guy who's on my radar. I haven't seen anybody talking about him. But the speed, man. We need guys that can run and spy these quarterbacks. He would be able to spy any quarterback on earth. He would be able to get his hands in those passing lanes. He would be another additional blitzer. He would be able to match up with every single tight end in this NFL. He's an absolute just phenomenal pick to me. I think he's a sleeper.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Would he fit under that mold of positionless football players that Brad Holmes likes, like a Jahmyr Gibbs? He's not a running back. He's a weapon. Yep. Like a Brian Branch. He's not a safety. He's not a corner. He's not a true nickel. He can do it all. Is that a guy that would fit that type of mold?
100%. And I really started to get enamored with him again when I started rewatching the film, and I seen Tracy Walker in the box a lot. Ife Melifonwu in the box a lot. And we even bring Cam Sutton in the box, right? So we'll have both our linebackers there, and then we'll have that Brian Barrett, that Cam Sutton, that Ife Melifonwu, that CJ Gardner-Johnson playing in that box position. Imagine having that James Williams playing that extra position, covering that tight end. Now we can bump Brian Branch out and just let him cover slot receivers. You know what I mean? Like, absolutely. I think it's just an extra piece out there that offers that position versatility, something that Brad Holmes had talked about last year, playing positionless football. I don't draft cornerbacks. I draft defensive backs. They play in the defensive backfield anywhere.
How easy of a transition do you think he would have from safety to linebacker? Is 230 pounds enough? Do you think he needs to go up to maybe 240 and try to keep that 4.4 speed? How do you feel about his physique and his transition?
His physique could probably put 1,000,000 pounds on when you see him. But honestly, Fred Warner's doing it at a very high level. And that's really what it is. Like he's a type of guy that he's very physical. He's very physical. He's a headhunter. He's a hitter. He has nice long arms. He can use his leverage to bench press guys and elude guys. I think he'll have no issue playing linebacker. One of the question marks on the back end was his instincts from a read and recognition standpoint. And they said I've heard a lot of scouts talking about him. If he does bump up to the next level, the ability just to be able to read and react instead of having to do things predicated on formation and route combinations. Now he can just come down and play football. I think it'll be I think it'll be a lights out, easy
What
transition.
I'm picturing talking about this kid, and I haven't seen too much on him, is in my head I have the image of Isaiah Simmons.
He's a different type of athlete.
Because I
He's
can't
a
have you be wrong about Isaiah Simmons and this kid again, William.
No, he's a different type of athlete. I think Isaiah Simmons is a definitely a piece that can help teams out, but he's a different type of athlete. He's truly he was a really good safety, man. Like, and we're just bringing him down because he can cover a tremendous amount of space.
Tight ends, running backs,
No brainer. No
fullbacks,
brainer.
slot receivers.
Honestly, he would be a mismatch on a tight end because he's 6'5". So you're not going to outbody him. He's faster than you. He gets in and out of his breaks faster than you at the tight end position. Like, instead of the tight end going on one of our linebackers and it being a mismatch in the tight end's favor, he would have the edge in athleticism on all of these guys. And they're not bigger than him.
So, and he's got some coverage skills. So
exactly.
What are we talking about here?
He's used to covering receivers. So he's a guy that I'm really high on, man. I really, if we drafted him in the second or third round, I would be super excited about it. Guys, we talked about some of these receivers. I feel like I literally got like 10 receivers listed. I think they'll have a piece there to draft. Getting off of James, I don't want to make the whole show about him. Xavier Liggett is another guy that I think could help us out tremendously. He could be a second rounder. He's supposed to run a 4.3. He's built like DK Metcalf, and he high points the football. A guy that, when we get into those red zones in the second half and we have those issues trying to score the ball, now we got J-Mo running around on deep routes. We got another guy running around outside who high points the football. Still got Amon-Ra St. Brown. Still got Sam Laporta. Still got the greatest two-punch combo in football, running the ball. What are we doing?
Yeah, man? We could take a chance on a wide receiver. I really like Troy Franklin. I've been pretty high on him. I like Keon Coleman late in the first round, depending on what we do in free agency. That all depends. But you said it a while ago, and it kind of has just stuck with me about not wanting your offense to go stale. So let's say we signed a second tier cornerback and a second tier defensive end just to put a Band-Aid on it, because maybe we're not picking at the best position in this draft to draft a defensive end or a corner if Brad doesn't like them at 29 more than he likes a wide receiver like Franklin or Coleman. We go out, make this offense already unstoppable, and we just add another piece to it. Good luck, because what kind of happened in the San Francisco game? It was weapon versus weapon, and they were just spreading the ball out. Brock Purdy, Deebo Samuel, McCaffrey, Ayuk, like they had guys all over making the plays. We have St. Brown, Laporta. That's real nice. We haven't really seen Jahmyr Gibbs in the pass game featured yet. He's had a couple nice catches, but he hasn't really shown that like Austin Eckler, Christian McCaffrey passing ability yet, and it's going to come. But if we could just give Goff some weapons, because that's what Goff needs, offensive line weapons could be a possibility. But let's talk about a local kid real quick. A lot of mock drafts have him going to us. We've talked about him a little bit. Darius Robinson, defensive end from Mizzou. Kind of growing on me a little.
You know what I worry about with Darius Robinson?
The fact that people compared him to J.J. Watt, which is insane.
No, that wasn't even a thing, man. That's ridiculous. But honestly, I wonder if we already have him on our team. What is he going to bring to our team that Pascal isn't bringing to the team? What is he going to bring to our team that Kaminsky isn't bringing to our team? Those are guys that are big, strong guys. They're hybrids, which is what Darius Robinson is, essentially. He's a hybrid. He's a guy that has always played defensive tackle, that is quicker than the average defensive tackle, that we've now bumped out to the edge, and he's done a pretty good job against college kids, right? But is he going to come in and be better than Pascal or Kaminsky? He's not a true blue pass rusher. His feet are sitting in quicksand. So if we draft him, are we solving any of the problems? Now, if you're telling me we're going to draft him to be an anchor, I'm going to tell you that we don't have an anchor issue, because Pascal, one thing that Pascal and Kaminsky do is anchor that other side.
We don't have the number one rush defense in the NFL for no reason.
Yeah, so I don't want another anchor. I want a pass rusher, man. So I don't know. That's why I'm so high on Rook, but maybe
Roa.
Yeah, there you go, man. Hey, love it.
Bingo.
Love it. Hitting home runs. But that's why I'm so high on him, man. He's way twitchier. So even if I just wonder too, if they bump Rook out, because there's times where we got Kaminsky and Pascal playing the other edge opposite of Aiden Hutchinson. If we bump Rook out, is he a better option because he's twitchier? He's got more. His hands seem more violent to me. Like I just don't know, man. Is Fisk a better option for what we're trying to do in our scheme? So he's just not a fit for me when I watch him on film. I think he's a guy for a team that needs a big, strong defensive end to anchor their defense and make sure people don't run at them. But we need a pass rusher.
So real quick, today, Friday or Thursday, I'm sorry, is the biggest day for me because I got my eyes on two guys. I'm watching Edgerrin Cooper and I'm watching Braden Fisk, the defensive tackle for Florida State. If you guys haven't checked out that episode, go find it. I can't tag every single video we've done at the end, but those are the two guys I'm watching the most. Those are the two guys I want maybe in the first two rounds, probably an Edgerrin Cooper and a Braden Fisk in round 2. So keep an eye on them. Mickey, William, give me your two guys only that you're watching any day, Thursday through Sunday, two guys and two guys alone.
I can't.
You have to.
You're not going to like it.
I have to.
It's James Williams.
Okay.
Right. Actually, I'm going to give you guys, because you already gave Fisk. I already talked about James Williams. So I'll just give you one new guy, because Rook, obviously, and then Javon Solomon out of Troy. Dude has 16 sacks. He's an edge rusher. I just think that in a world where a guy could be there later in a draft and we need an edge rusher. So you're telling me that I could potentially live in a world to where I go get Rook and then I bring Solomon in, who, in my opinion, from watching the film, hasn't played any NFL downs. But if you watch college film of James Houston and you watch college film of Solomon, you will see that he's a way better option coming out of college at the pass rush position. He will be able to rush the passer.
When pastor is getting after the priest.
He may get the pastor too. He will be able to rush the pass. Hockey, now I'm about to
come
say
on now.
He will be able to rush the passer, man, when he gets off the plane in Detroit, man. He will be ready to go. So he's another one that I'm watching, man.
Say his name again one more time for the fans.
It's you got me all flustered.
Father John, the pastor.
Javon Solomon, man, out of Troy. But yeah, he's a 16 sacks, man. He's a stud, man. Him and James Williams are two guys that I'm really watching. I think they're day 2 and day 3 guys, and they could really help out teams.
All right, guys, there it is. We've done a half-hour show getting you guys ready for the NFL Combine. It's a big week for the Detroit Lions. Brad Holmes is there. Dan Campbell's there for sure. I'm sure they have all their scouts in the building too. I don't know if Aaron Glenn or Ben Johnson are there. Haven't seen anything. If they are, let us know. Leave it in the comments. Also, leave in the comments some players you guys are watching. We will be back every night doing a recap on each position group, kind of breaking it down, who stood out, who would fit with the Detroit Lions, kind of just going day by day. But I would say other than Saturday, you should be pretty invested in what's going on, because Saturdays is the quarterbacks, running backs, maybe some wide receivers might be an option, but we're pretty good on the other two positions. And then Sunday, we're going to follow it up with some offensive line. So it's a bit busy week for the Detroit Lions. Leave a comment down below. Let us know who you got an eye on. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. It helps us out a whole lot. We'll be back later talking some defensive linemen and linebackers later tonight.
Peace.